Now, at least 94 million Nigerians live below the poverty line. This is according to Oxfam. The National Poverty Reduction and Growth Strategy, that's the NPRGS, is a poverty alleviation program created to achieve President Buhari's ambitious plan of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty within 10 years. The program, through economic growth and social protection programs, would help accelerate poverty reduction. Joining me to discuss the federal government's plan of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty is a public affairs analyst, Fola Daniel. Good to have you join us.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
Many people have said this is quite ambitious, and when you look at the current situation on ground in the country, in terms of whether GDP growth, earning capacity of Nigerians, that this might not be realistic. I want to get your thought on how realistic you think this plan is.
I totally agree with those who believe that it is ambitious, and I'm also slightly on the side of those who are saying that it may not be realistic. Because what are the parameters for lifting 100 million people out of poverty? The first question we should be asking ourselves would be, what is the global standard or definition of poverty? It is that you're living below $1 a day. And if you're living below $1 a day, the United Nations consider you poor. So how are you going to make sure that all the people that you want to lift out of poverty, 100 million of them, spend well over 400 naira a day conveniently without having to grumble? The program of the federal government is more of a social intervention program, more like the school feeding program and all the other things that they've been doing. And if that's what they intend to do with this particular program, you're going to put food on people's table, you're going to make life a bit easier for the people, but you're not going to lift them out of poverty. The reason you're not going to lift them out of poverty is because they are not making the money themselves. It's the government giving them something. It's just purely a handout, more like giving people food stamps. That's different completely from lifting people out of poverty. When you want to lift people out of poverty, you empower their minds, you give them skills, and you give them the enabling environment to be able to generate the income themselves. It is when the people are mentally empowered, physically equipped with some skills, and can generate money in the environment without relying further on the government or any other person, that's when you can say that they have been empowered. But if it remains a social intervention program, then it will not be sustainable, because we already have a pattern in this country where another government comes into power and may not sustain that program. So it's so important to change the strategy, making sure that it's not just a social intervention program of handing food over to people, handing cash over to people, but making sure that they have a skill. So even if they run out of cash, the skill is still there to regenerate the income that they need to be above the poverty line.
So whilst we do not know at this time the dimension rather that this will take, because the National Steering Committee was just inaugurated on Wednesday, and the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo will be in charge of that committee. We do not know the direction they intend to go. But when you look at the fact that right now, just not in Nigeria, generally around the world, especially because of the COVID-19, more people are being pushed into poverty. And poverty is now multi-dimensional. It's not just about money anymore. It has also become an issue of food security. And in Nigeria, where we have security challenges, there is issue of food security, there is health. Some people cannot access health because of security. Some people cannot access education because of security. Talk to us about what you think that the policy priorities should be as the National Steering Committee gets to work.
First of all, I think we have a pattern established already. When President Goodluck Jonathan was in power, we had You Win. You Win is a situation where people apply for grants and they win the grants. At the end of the day, we actually did not create a program to follow up on all these people, to be able to establish how well they are doing today. You Win was not sustained under the current administration. The current administration came on board and established what we call Empower. Empower is running, and the moment you're out of that program called Empower, that is the end of it. You are no longer empowered, because it's only for a period of maybe a year or 2 years maximum. And if you don't get re-enlisted into the program, that's the end for you. So the policy direction, first of all, should look at a long-term a solution to all the people who have been lifted out of poverty. So if you give somebody a program slot in Empire, for example, and after 1 year or 2 years, the person still doesn't get a job, the person is back to being poor. If you give somebody a grant, and because of the environment, the person isn't able to maximize more.
We seem to be experiencing network challenges there, and we also have to live with that. Public affairs, I was going to call you poverty analyst, but that's, I mean, that's what you've done today. Help us analyze this. Public affairs analyst Fola Daniel Adelisi, thanks for sharing your thoughts with us on this.
Thank you so much.